Hello, and welcome to Cry Havoc Wargaming, dedicated to bringing you the uncommon. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Ron, and today we're going to talk a little bit about myself. One of my regular commenters in my on the channel, Ian Nicholson, has asked me if I might explain how it is that I got into the wargaming hobby. And I usually endeavor to avoid talking about myself a great deal on here. In fact, I've been trying to reduce the amount of talking head portions of the video I've been doing anyway. But I happen to be in my busy period for my real life, my outside of the YouTube world existence. Because of it this last weekend being President's Day weekend, that'll make a little more sense by the time I get to the end of this video. But I am a little tight for time. Also, I've been preparing for far too long now for a battle I was hoping to run and did run at a local convention. And that's put me off my usual programming schedule. I have a bunch of 5 parsecs from home videos already recorded, but I don't want to make this just a 5 parsecs from home channel. So I decided I would answer Ian's question, as it would be relatively easy to throw together my comments, get them edited, and put them out onto the internet. My name is Ron Carnegie. I was born in Los Angeles in the 1960s. I'm going to start there because I think a lot of my background is going to lead to how I became a wargamer. I don't know when I first became interested in history. I do consider myself primarily to be a historical gamer. This page will probably belie that because I do play a lot of other periods. I do play fantasy. I'm willing to play in some of these gray areas, and I think the channel represents more of that than it tends to represent my historical interests. But from the earliest I remember, I have been interested in history. My sister and I used to pretend to be pirates, fighting on the side of a ship, standing on my mom's couch. Maybe it's Hollywood that inspired my history interest. I don't know. This led to eventually in high school, I began to play various board wargamings, things like Amazon Hill. I remember I started with Tactics 2. I got into Squad Leader and then Advanced Squad Leader. By the time I finished high school, I had gotten into role-playing game. And in fact, for a decade, maybe 2, I was more heavily involved in role-playing games than I was in wargaming, be it board wargaming or figures. There was an overlap there. I was doing a bit of both at the same time, but I was primarily engaged in role-playing games. I started, like so many people, with D&D and then went to advanced D&D, but I went from there to Chaosium. I played Call of Cthulhu for years. I was heavily involved with Iron Crown Enterprises and their Rollmaster series and Space Master. In fact, I was, for a very short period of time, working on a rewrite of the Space Master rules. Now, I started miniatures wargaming just about the end of high school as well. Either in high school or college, I was playing frequently with a wargaming club at Cal State University Northridge in Los Angeles. Originally, I think it was 15 millimeters using WRG rules, playing the English Civil War. By this point, I've been through a lot of hobbies. I am a bit of a Renaissance man. I play a number of musical instruments, mostly historic. I've been an actor. By this point in my life, right around the end of high school, I'd started participating in a Renaissance fair. And this particular Renaissance fair I worked at is the one that started them all. It's now called the original Renaissance fair. It was started by the Living History Center back in 1962. And it was a little more historically based than many of the other fairs you'll see around, which are far more fantasy. And in fact, even the fair I used to work with itself has become more and more fantasy based. My involvement in that led to me becoming more and more interested in history, and a deeper history, into an idea of living history. And so I went from working the Renaissance Fair to working in more legitimate living history backgrounds, starting first with reenacting. I've reenacted 16th century, 17th century British sailors and soldiers, going into 18th century reenacting and the American Revolution, playing both sides. Originally, I was in a number of British regiments. I presently participate occasionally with George Washington's Department of Geographers on the American sides of that war. For a long time, I was reenacting Civil War in various different units. I've also been involved in World War I as an American soldier and World War II as a British soldier. But I don't do a lot of the reenacting anymore, as in '95 I decided to get out of my previous line of work and to devote myself specifically to history. So at that time I looked at getting employment in the living history field, and since '95 I have worked for Colonial Williamsburg Foundation. Colonial Williamsburg is the restored capital of Virginia. It was the capital of Virginia from 1699 until 1780, and I have the great honor there, and have had now for, I don't know, between 16 and 20 years, of portraying George Washington, which is why this President's Day weekend is a busy time of year for me. But wargaming, going back to the wargaming, I started playing historic gaming. Started, as I said, with English Civil War, set in the what is that game? What were those rules? WRG, I think. I did play some fantasy things. I played Warhammer Fantasy. I think it was the third edition. And I played what I think is the second edition of Warhammer 40K for a small amount of time. I played a bunch of skirmish games that we had created using rules by Featherstone in his book on historic wargaming. I played a bit of 15 millimeter Civil War for a while. I was playing that a lot right before I came out here. But I've developed mostly in that area originally, and strongly in historic wargaming, and then have ventured out more recently into more science fiction and fantasy, or combining them. I've never been against that, and I just frankly enjoy pushing toy soldiers around the table. It doesn't matter to me a whole lot what they are. This page, the channel that we've now come to, I've in more recent years, I've tried to promote games that I enjoy. Not just to share them, and not just for the support of the companies that produce them, but also, I will admit, some small personal gain. After all, if these game companies are successful, I can keep getting their games, buying from them, and continuing playing them myself. So I started to run games frequently at local shows, particularly those games that I prefer, to help share them, to help promote them, and to help bring attention to some of these less commercially successful or obvious games, small manufacturers. And then COVID came, and by about the time of COVID, I was relying on YouTube myself very frequently to find out about new games, or to learn how they're played, or to get some experience. And I was starting to learn and buy games, involve myself in a couple of Kickstarters, specifically because of the work of other people's pages. Tabletop CP with Travis's page, which I think is an excellent page. Sometimes Little Wars TV, the Beasts of War, what do they call themselves now? They've changed their name. Often these would bring some game to my attention. I sort of combined those two ideas of trying to promote games that I enjoyed and liked to play with the idea of videos. When COVID hit, in fact, right as COVID hit, when it started, I had no experience with making videos whatsoever. And Travis, on Travis's page, he said that he couldn't find any videos for Gunfighter's Ball. I was a huge supporter of Gunfighter's Ball at this time. In fact, for somebody who runs games at conventions, it is absolutely perfect for a convention game. And so I thought, well, you know what? Maybe I can help them with this. Maybe I can learn how to make videos and produce a video of the game, because I know how to play the game. And that ended up becoming the second video I made for what has now become Cry Havoc Wargaming. I took a course, an online course on producing videos and creating YouTube channels and running YouTube channels, and have been doing that ever since. It's taken a long time to get here, longer than a lot of channels take, but we are just approaching 1,000 subscribers. 1,000 subscribers, that's an important benchmark to YouTube, and this all matters. You'll notice in a lot of videos, I do it here, other people do it too. They ask you to subscribe, they ask you to follow their pages, and part of that is because it helps draw attention to the page, and that helps you with YouTube and the way the algorithms on YouTube work. So that's part of why that gets directed so often, and that's why 1,000 subscribers is a very important number and an achievement. I unfortunately, for a growth aspect, have picked sort of a niche amongst the niche. Picking unusual miniatures wargaming games is not really the way to grow your YouTube channel quickly. So I'm very proud that we are approaching 1,000, and I owe that all to you. That's one of the reasons I'm making this video. I was asked, I tell you in every video, put comments down, let me know in the comments if you have content, and I try to honor that. I try when I can to make the videos that you request, because after all, the success of a YouTube channel relies upon you. It's here for you. There's no point in me talking to a camera by myself. I could do this all day long without anybody watching. Wouldn't have to put it on the internet. A channel is only successful as its watchers, as the followers who follow it. And the goal, I don't want to do videos I'm not interested in. I don't want to talk about games I'm not interested in. But I also don't want to produce videos and talk about games that you're not interested in. So this is sort of a mutual situation where we try to help each other to continue in the success of a page. And I'm considering this pretty successful. So I owe that, not to myself, but to all of you. And I've really enjoyed this. COVID brought me to it. It was learning how to do this is how I spent my lockdown, but it's been enjoyable. I look forward to continuing, and I hope that many of you look forward to continuing alongside me. I hope that answered your question, Ian. If not, let me know. I can give you more information. Just as I always say, I don't think I'm going to stress the usual. If you found this video useful, it probably hasn't been useful to any of you. But if you have enjoyed it at all, I hope you'll hit like. If you'd like to continue on our path towards whatever this channel's future may be, I hope you'll hit subscribe. And if you'd like to receive notifications of when I am talking about games, I hope you'll ring the little notification bell. Thanks for watching, and until next time, cheers.